21 million salaried employees lost their jobs during the April to August period, with about 3.3 million jobs being lost just in August. And this is according to data released by the Centre for Monitoring Indian Economy, or the CMIE. Interestingly, while the loss of livelihood was rampant across sectors, it was mostly led by rural India and informal salaried workers like guards, cooks, maids, drivers and gardeners. Industrial workers and white-collar workers also contributed to the tally in August. All salaried jobs put together account for 21 to 22% of total employment in India. Now, India's unemployment rate rose to 8.35% in August from 7.4% in July, as salaried jobs in August reduced to 65 million in the country. In urban India, unemployment rose almost 10% in August from 9.37% in July, while rural unemployment rate increased to 7.65% in August from 6.51% in July. Now, as the economy unlocks and tries to return to the path of growth, creating jobs is going to be one of the key ingredients. Today on the show, we take a look at the enablers in India's job creation economy. What are the gaps in India's job market? What are the demand drivers? And what needs to be done to ensure that the Indian workforce is appropriately skilled and gainfully employed? Hello and welcome to Young Turks, India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Shereen Bhan. Joining me today are four CEOs who have insights into India's job market. Nirmit Parikh, the founder and CEO of Apna; Pravin Agarwala, co-founder and CEO of Betterplace; also with us, Shashank Murali, the co-founder and CEO of TapChief; and Ravish Agrawal, the co-founder and CEO of Able Jobs. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us here on the program. Nirmit, let me start by asking you, we read out the data that's come in from CMIE, and it does paint a fairly dismal picture as far as the jobs market is concerned. Given the fact that we're in the process of unlock and we are now in phase 4 of unlock, how have trends changed over the last few months?
I think so. We see a lot of positive trends coming in. We see the line of revenue jobs like business development, sales, etc. are coming back with work from home options. We've also seen SMBs was more on a kind of a hiring freeze, which we have started seeing SMBs also kind of coming back and starting to hire much faster. So I think so. The outlook overall looks very positive, and which is a very good sign.
Okay, so you're saying that the outlook is positive, but you're talking about the outlook being positive in comparison to the pre-COVID period, right? Are we back to pre-COVID kind of demand, or are you comparing the lockdown period and suggesting that the outlook is now more positive?
Yeah, so I'm comparing the lockdown period. So if you see March to June period, right, we saw in that time the SMB almost was kind of hiring was frozen. We could see essential jobs doubling and new age enterprises jobs in logistics and healthcare doing well, but the rest of the other jobs are all kind of dripping down. But now with the lockdown unlocking and with SMBs also kind of coming back into the picture, we have started seeing basically rise of jobs in at least the line of revenue jobs. Also, like we did a couple of studies with, given we work very closely with both. Yep, please.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so given that we work very closely with both the employers and the candidates, we did a couple of studies and we could see there is a strong preference from the candidate side to work from home, and employers are trying to, facilitate that. We have seen a lot of employers standing in laptops, and if people have to also kind of come and work, they're standing in the hygiene mask, which is a very, very interesting trend we have started to see also in that piece.
Okay, so people prefer work from home options and employers are trying to ensure that that is a possibility. And I'm just looking at the data. You facilitated over 1 million job interviews in the month of August on Apna. But let me get Pravin Agarwala of Betterplace into the conversation. Pravin, many thanks for joining us. You've also, of course, launched that SEAM platform in collaboration with the NSDC. Take me through what you've seen currently, what kind of onboarding is happening, what are the trends that are emerging?
So I think compared to April, we see very positive, like Nirmit already mentioned. Things are becoming very positive in the logistics, e-commerce sector, and facility management, security management. It's becoming even better. There are certain sectors which are still in stress, I would say, mobility and hospitality, where we have not seen growth that was there in the month of February. But if you look at some other sectors in manufacturing, construction, the jobs are coming back. In fact, if you look at manufacturing and construction, the employers who are in tier 1, tier 2 cities, they're actually going to the remote areas and bringing people back, providing them all kinds of facilities that they would need. So we believe things are coming back to normal. Overall, it's already at 80-85%. In certain sectors, it's even more than 100%, especially with essential goods. But in others, it's picking up. Might be another quarter and a half where we think it will be back to the normal before the lockdown.
Okay, so I would imagine that, yes, essential services are seeing demand for people, sectors like logistics, etc., as you pointed out. But it's interesting that you're saying that demand is back even in the construction sector, specifically for Tier 2, Tier 3 towns. Just on the ASEEM platform, Pravin, I am given to understand that about what? As of last week, 1 crore people have registered on the platform?
That's right. So we have 96 lakh people who are registered in the platform. We are creating a monthly demand of roughly 5 lakh new demands right now in the platform, which we believe we will touch closer to 1.5 million every month in a month or two from now. So the demands are growing, the number of people are there. What we also see is that a lot of people are also looking at opportunities which are closer to their home now, so that they don't have to move too much. Nevertheless, people have started migrating back for work.
Yes, the migration back to economic centres has started, but as you point out, the preference is also to try and find a local job if that is possible. Let me bring in Shashank into the conversation. Shashank Murali, the co-founder and CEO of TapChief. Shashank, what's happening with the gig jobs? That's the question that everybody wants an answer to.
Thank you so much for having me, Shereen. Yeah, well, I think, see, it's quite natural, in these times that gig jobs will obviously see a spike. And I think we're increasingly seeing that in various aspects where, multiple companies and businesses, including SMEs, are trying to transition to digital, right? I think that's an area where, it's not core to their business, but a lot of businesses in India have been forced to sort of overnight over the last few months, figure out their ways and means to actually perform and win digital, right? Not just have a presence there. So I think from that perspective, it's an area which what we have seen is most sort of small businesses struggle to hire for because it's outside their core expertise, which is where platforms like us come into play, where they effectively leverage platforms like TapChief to order these tasks and gigs on our platform to effectively get these things done. And that has obviously resulted in us being able to sort of funnel more incomes, more tasks to a greater number of professionals. And I think the biggest sort of insight on the professional side for us, what we are seeing increasingly is that, I think job security is virtually a myth and not a norm anymore. So what we are seeing fundamentally is that more and more professionals insulate their income streams by having diverse income streams. It could be them doing something on their own, or engaging on platforms like ours and doing work. So I think that's an increasing trend. And from a company standpoint, I think what we're increasingly seeing is especially tasks which are
we'll come back. Shashank, we'll come back to you because I think we're on a patchy line with you. So let me bring Ravish into the conversation while we fix that. Ravish, co-founder and CEO of Able Jobs. Thanks very much, Ravish, for joining us. Are you experiencing the same situation that we just heard there from Nirmit, Pravin and Shashank? Is there an uptick that you are seeing in demand? And what are the big trends that you're noticing at this point in time?
Sure. Thank you, Shereen. So I think, yes, the trend is in line with what we are seeing. So what we have seen is enterprise jobs have come back. So if you look at bigger enterprises like, Amazons of the world, or the BPOs of the world, they have started hiring again. Now, they have not really resumed to pre-COVID levels, but they are 25 to 30% there. one bigger change that we have seen is now people have moved to hiring trained talent. So, the positions that were available for freshers have now, let's say, moved for experienced people, or people are looking for someone who has done the work. And that's primarily because, most of the jobs have moved from work from home. And now it's really tough for the managers or the, peers to mentor the new folks coming in. So that's where we are seeing that, companies are coming to us and, helping us that, hey, how can we get a trained talent? And most of these COVID has also pushed most of these companies to reduce costs, due to which, learning and development department has been hit hard. So companies are trying newer ways where they can get good talent who can get started to work faster, because again, now you have lower bandwidth and you have to move faster as the economy is restoring.
Well, that's an important insight, that since most companies are now operating on a work-from-home model, the ability to train fresh talent is perhaps restrained, and hence people would prefer experienced hands at this point in time. Let me ask the others if that is in fact the case. Nirmit, is that something that you're picking up on as well? What about, experience? What about skills? What kind of skills are being considered at this point in time? And more importantly, what about salaries? What's happening as far as the pay packets are concerned?
So yes, definitely. I think so. With the rise of work from home, I think so training becomes important. So more and more employers are now asking for screen candidates. So we have seen the rate at which people are asking that, can you help us screen the candidates? And that includes some kind of training or some kind of basic screening, so that the candidates are more relevant and are ready to kind of start working. So we have definitely seen that uptick. In terms of the pay packets, I think so pay packets, we haven't seen much change in the pay packets. Definitely with the essential jobs rising and the demand rising, there is definitely some small delta of pay packets have increased for essential jobs. But for the rest of the jobs, the pay packets seem to almost be in the same levels which were like pre-COVID. We have seen a strong pull from the candidate side, where folks who are trying to, who are on commission-based models are trying to go to more fixed pay models. And also there's a strong pull of insurance needs from the candidate sides coming on the platform. Plus, given that we are not only a jobs provider, if you see the way Apna is designed, we are a professional network for grey and blue collar workers. Where happens is what happens there, where once the user comes on the platform, they also kind of communicate and be a part of the community. So we have also seen a very a trend of upskilling, where say there is a grey collar worker who is say working in accounting, and somebody doesn't know English and wants to learn computer. We have seen each and grey collar workers kind of helping each other, and we have seen this rise of upskilling between workers individually, and I think that is a very interesting trend to see, and people forging new relationships. Another very interesting trend which we see here is a lot of blue and grey collar workers are starting their own businesses. So we have seen a lot of maids who lost jobs have started papad businesses together. We have seen a lot of there were a lot of hospitality folks who lost jobs have started building mask businesses. So they're building masks and supplying it to hospitals. So very, very interesting set of new businesses. People are starting agarbatti businesses. And over the last 3 months, we have at least helped more than 400 to 500,000 workers to start their own business, which is a very interesting trend to see.
So you're saying 4 to 5,000 workers start their businesses? Is that the number that you just gave me?
Yes. So they're interested or almost have started their businesses. So what we do is we facilitate them to kind of connect to the right people, which comes. So think of us as a comparable to LinkedIn, right? Where somebody in LinkedIn say a lot of times say I want to start a business around e-commerce, I'll go to LinkedIn and I will say that. And there's somebody who's already been there, done there, will kind of help me.
Right.
So we have started seeing all this rise of agarbatti business, detergent business. We have seen rise of businesses where people are making phenyl. And very, very interesting trends to see. This is like the real Indian businesses picking up. So I think the entrepreneurial Indian is also kind of coming back, and which is very interesting trend to see.
Okay. Well, that is certainly interesting that you've got these small entrepreneurs starting up businesses. And I particularly like the other trends that you spoke of. Let me ask Pravin to comment on that. The fact that employees are now looking for better insurance coverage, that employees are now wanting to move away from commission-based compensation to perhaps more fixed compensation. Pravin, what are you noticing also from an employer's perspective? While, salaries may remain pretty much the same as Nirmit was pointing out. Given the COVID pandemic, are they looking at providing accommodation, for instance, travel support? I mean, what are we seeing on that end?
That's a very interesting point, Shereen. If you look at it from an employer's point of view, one is that they want flexibility in resources right now, given the pandemic and the uncertainty in the business, right? So they want a resource pool from where they can hire. But at the same time, to get the right talent and the talent which is required immediately, people are hesitant to come if the benefits are not there, right? The health insurance, the life insurance, or perhaps the accommodation, the construction side, or the food, the social distancing, so that you can take care of any situation that might arise, right? That's from the employer point of view. So they are willing to take the step forward and say, I will take care of the benefits and other stuff, but perhaps not change the salary package as it is, or might give you some bonus, but rather than increasing the basic salary itself, right? On the individual side, if you see, individuals, like Nirmit mentioned, I think individuals are looking at more fixed salary because they don't know what will happen tomorrow. If I come back from a village, work in the city, in a month's time, I lose the job, what will happen to me? So they're asking for, give me some kind of surety that if I come to the job, I have 3 months, 6 months, 1 year visibility into it, right? And second is that give me some more benefits. I don't have to stay in a situation where the chances of catching the COVID is much higher, right? So give me accommodation, give me food, or if you have a site like a warehouse or a construction or a manufacturing, give me a facility to stay there itself. So employees are demanding that now, which was not the case. And the employers are also taking the step forward and looking into this. So if you look at the trend in terms of insurance and benefits, in last 5 months, it has gone up by almost 5-6x for the customers that we manage. So we believe that this is going to be even bigger as we go along, primarily because the individuals have also started seeing this as an aspect, which was not the case 5 months back.
Yes, so both Nirmit and Pravin agreeing on some of the factors that are now playing a much more crucial part in the decision-making from both an employee's perspective as well as an employer's perspective, things like insurance, health coverage, and of course moving to much more fixed compensation-based formulas as opposed to commission-based. But let me bring Shashank back into the conversation. Shashank, you talked about how people prefer, given the uncertainty, to not have employees on the payroll, but instead, work with them on a contractual basis, on a gig basis. How many people have been placed in particular assignments or roles via TapChief in the last few months?
Right. Shereen, I think one of the things we constantly track is, how many tasks are happening on our platform, right? And, how are we growing that piece out? And how are more and more companies looking at adding more tasks and doubling down on those for core business activities, both from a growth perspective as well as business as usual perspective, right? So from that perspective, what we have done is we have heavily focused on a few verticals. We've focused on verticals which are very critical for digital growth of businesses, which includes writers, designers, marketers, and folks like these. And what we're seeing is an increasingly high uptrend from all forms of businesses, right? Like how Ravish mentioned, the enterprise jobs are obviously back in huge fervor with more and more businesses across all sectors, increasing the number of tasks that they're doing on our platform. All of this is effectively leading to, the way we see it, a lot more stability in incomes and volume of work for professionals on our platform. So we've been doing about our task rate, etc., is roughly growing at about 50 to 70% month on month in the last 4-5 months for us.
Okay.
And what we're seeing is it's only going upwards as we move along. So yeah, I mean, I think the fundamental point here is what we see is, especially when it comes to white collar, which is behaves slightly differently from blue collar or grey collar. What I think is organizations are becoming a lot more decision centric, wherein, and thereby a lot of tasks which are repeat being shipped off to people.
Yes, the organizations are much more decision-centric and looking and much more task-oriented and looking at the gig route to be able to get those tasks done. But Ravish, let me come back to you now. And I was looking at some of the stuff that you've been focusing on and some of the consumer insights that you've picked up on. Job searches for key internet companies has increased considerably, and as has the demand for paid interns. So people prefer taking on interns as opposed to taking on freshers on the payroll. That's something that you're noticing?
Yes. So I think there are two things which has happened during the COVID time. So first of all, internet companies have continued to hire even this times, and we all know, business. EdTech has picked up, e-commerce has picked up, grocery has picked up. So these companies have continued to hire, and that's where, job seekers have moved from your traditional, let's say, a banking job or an insurance job to, internet jobs. And that's where we have seen that, demand for, being a part of internet company, being a part of e-commerce company has increased. And, a lot of people have come onto the Able Jobs platform to learn, hey, how can I become a customer support at one of the top internet company, or how can I sell EdTech products. I have been, mostly selling, physical products, touch and feel. So that's the gap that, people are coming and now filling that gap through Able Jobs so that they can transition into internet companies. Secondly, on the business side, what we have seen is that COVID came with a lot of unpredictability. So all the fresher hiring, which was about to happen, let's say somewhere in between March to July, where the batch was graduating, the batch couldn't graduate because most of the exams couldn't happen. As a result of which, people, the students were also not sure that, hey, am I relieved from college? When will my exams happen? As a result of which, employers were not sure, hey, can I onboard the person for a full time? So that's where most of the employers have moved to hiring for paid interns because, again, nobody is sure whether when is the demand coming back, or, if let's say tomorrow the educational institutions decide to conduct an exam, how will I manage to, do the work? So that's where we have seen that people have, floated interns, and, these are anywhere between 3 to 6 months interns with a confidence given to the fresher that, hey, we will convert you if you stick around for 3 months, if you do your work well. So that's one thing that, companies have taken to really, balance that unpredictability which has come in the business due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that's where we have also received a lot.
What kind of interest have you received on that front?
So on that front, we have received people, who have we have received an interest where they are asking, we need graduates who can sell, or we need graduates who can get the work done. And this is where, our training programs have come in very handy, where we have also in the pandemic, we have expanded into, helping companies hire for internships as well. And again, skills are again being the top priority because nobody wants to invest in training right now. Nobody has that bandwidth to, handhold someone. So that's what we have been receiving from the company's end.
Okay. Yes, nobody wants to invest in training, but that also brings up the larger point of the kind of cost-cutting measures that many companies, big and small, are deploying, and what that is going to mean as far as the job market is concerned. Nirmit, I mean, this is a fact. Companies are looking at, ensuring that operations are leaner, and that will mean redundancies, that could mean hiring less. So how is that likely to impact demand going forward?
I think so the way if we put jobs under the cost section and the operations section here, so that might impact, but we also see the line of, as I initially said, that the line of revenue jobs have been kind of growing. So from that standpoint, we will definitely see rise in BD sales and those kind of jobs. There is a very different pattern because of COVID. Essential jobs are also continuously increasing. The new age enterprises jobs particularly around logistics and around education are also increasing. So I think so we would at least over the next couple of months, as the things are changing, we'll definitely see rise in this kind of jobs more and more.
Okay, yes, and of course, some of your clients are the likes of Amazon, Big Basket, Byju's, and these are the guys who've continued to hire through the pandemic as well. But Pravin, let me ask you, how easy is it going to be for people to be able to make the transition? And a lot of you talked about the need for upskilling and how we're starting to see that happen. But, if the hospitality business has not taken off just yet, it continues to be locked down. So those who were employed in that sector, for them to be able to transition to other sectors, I mean, how easy is this pivot going to be?
That's a very interesting point, because at the end of the day, people do need the job, right? And irrespective of the demand is there in their skills or not, and things will change over time. What's happening is that, and what we do is, we also look at the potential jobs which are adjacent to the skills. So we find out through our assessment platform, what are the gaps that the person has, what are the potential opportunities that the person can take, depending on the skills today I have. For example, I work in retail. Perhaps I can work in a BPO, right? Because people who work in retail can interact with the customer. The same thing can be done in a BPO working from home, right? If I had worked as a security guard, perhaps I can work as a delivery boy where the demand might be increasing dramatically, right? Or I can work in a warehouse where I have done it in past. So there are possibilities which are based on the current skill set. The second thing is that the classroom training and other things are basically past, right? I mean, you have to do digital training, and the digital training which are coming in small chunks and modules and so on, right? So what we also do, and many others are doing as well, in partnership with our program with NSDC, we are also upskilling people for the job opportunities which are there. And we also partner with employers and saying, you are going to hire so many people over the next 6 months. Let us start building those resources today, so that you have a resource pool from where you can hire. You can hire trained, skilled, trustworthy, everything all packaged together. And that makes life easier for the employer and the individual as well. So is this going to be difficult? I believe so, that it could be, for some areas might be, but more or less it will not be, because the opportunities are growing. Only few sectors where we see there could be a challenge, where the person has done very specialized training. For example, in garment manufacturing, where the garment manufacturing is still very slow, right? Because the demand is much smaller. How do they move to a new sector with a different kind of skills, from a savings to another manufacturer, right? So that's the change that we have to see, but that's a small portion of the total size of the people working in this economy.
All right, so things are looking better. But remember, these gentlemen are largely talking about the organized sector and dealing with jobs in the organized sector, where because of the unlock, there is a pickup as far as demand is concerned. That, of course, is the good news. There will be sectors that will continue to face challenges. We just talked about some of them, but there are other sectors that are hiring at this point in time. Sectors in the logistics space, in the edtech space, tech companies, those are the ones that are hiring, but it will require upskilling, and it will require people making those transitions with the right skills. Nirmit Parikh, Pravin Agarwala, Shashank Murali, and Ravish Agrawal, thanks very much for joining us here on this special edition of Young Turks. Appreciate your time and your insights. We'll take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment.